Hi class, Dr. Earls checking in for the beginning of our week 4 as you are coming now to your book critique on Warren's book, Purpose Driven Church. If I can just be transparent with you, I want to see you dealing critically with Rick for what he says, not what you've read others say about Rick. I'm not saying Rick is perfect, but I met Rick 43 years ago. He trained us for summer evangelism teams out here in California. And just knowing the guy and watching his life develop and the work that God's done with Rick and the Saddleback Church, there's been a lot of things written because it's so popular with what he's written in PDC and PDL, Purpose Driven Church and Purpose Driven Life, now becoming the highest selling book in American history for nonfiction outside the scriptures themselves. So I want to see you talking about what Rick says in your book critique. So again, you have 3 parts, like we've been saying in prior videos: the summary, the critique, and then the application. Make sure in the application you give specific things that you are wanting to go after an application to your life and ministry calling out of what you've written or read and written about from Rick's writing of this text. Then secondly, your summary. There's 5 parts to this book, Purpose Driven Church. I want to see something from you. You're addressing the myths of church growth that he talks about in part 1. Part 2, the DCOA, defining, communicating, organizing, and applying the purposes of God that Rick addresses from Scripture in that whole part 2 section. And then part 3, the targeting. Understand what he's saying there, because this is, if you read much into church growth literature that was especially popularized in the 80s and 90s, you want to understand that homogeneic principle that McGavran popularized in his writings, the Bridges of God and other things that he wrote. Understand and critically look at that in light of Scripture and what Jesus said and what Paul practiced. And then in part 4, the outside-in attraction. What's all that? Go into Scripture, look at that as you're reading Rick, and bounce that off of Scripture and come up with your convictions and insights and what you should do with that in your church involvement and leadership. And then part 5, building up the congregation. Rick's always been into discipleship. His first writings, even as a teenager, was writing out outlines of discipleship things that he used with youth groups that he led and ministered to, and his first experiences in ministry. So go through this carefully. And again, when you come to that part 2 on the paper, the criticism, make sure that you're criticizing what he said, not what others have said about what Rick says or purports Rick to say. All right. Thanks, class, very, very much. I'm looking forward to your writing on Rick. I'll be looking forward to grading through Malphurs what you've submitted on that as well. So God bless you. Have a great week ahead. Thanks. Bye.